Hello everyone, how you doing? I hope you're all doing really well today. I'm Lindsay, your host of the Heavy Metal Journal and writer for Lambgoat and the Moshville Times, and today is the day. I am so excited about today's video because I will be counting my top 10 albums of 2024 and finally revealing that number one spot, my very favourite album of the year. Now, I have to say about this list in particular, every single one of the albums in this portion of my list, in the final portion, is spectacular, and every single one of them does deserve the number one spot. Now, with these particular albums, these are the albums that I have returned to the most throughout the year, regardless of what kind of mood I'm in. Sometimes I'm in the mood for progressive metal, sometimes I'm in the mood for black and thrash metal, sometimes it's industrial, sometimes it's black, sometimes it's melodic death metal. It doesn't matter with these 10, however, because whatever my mood is, whatever my mindset is, what I'm doing, how I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, these 10 albums are the albums that I enjoy the most, regardless of my state of mind, and they are all spectacular in their own rights. But anyway, I've prattled on enough about that. Top 10 albums of 2024, let's get straight into number 10. Okay, so coming in at number 10, released on the 25th of October via Metal Blade Records, I have Iotunn with Kinship, and this is progressive melodic death metal. Now, I did look up how to pronounce this band name properly, but because of my weird Scottish accent, I probably did it wrong anyway. But this is an incredible record, and there's a bit of everything in here. So you have those really hard chugging riffs, but you've also got these soaring melodies and harmonies, clean vocals and guttural vocals, both of which are powerful in their own right and incredibly impassioned, and some of the catchiest riffs I've heard all year. However, it does cover all bases, so you've got your melodic death metal progressive elements, but you've got a little bit of black metal and doom elements throughout this as well, so it really is an incredibly extreme record. It's very melancholic in parts, but it's also incredibly uplifting at the same time, and it does balance more ballad-like tracks with the harsher melodic death metal side of things. This is a unique record, you never know which way it's going to turn, and it's incredibly beautifully produced. Earth to Sky is definitely my favourite track off the record, and if you are a fan of the likes of Enslaved, Borknagar, In Vain, that kind of sound, even a little bit of Winter Sun in there, this one is definitely for you. Plus that album artwork is absolutely stunning. So coming in at number 10, I have Iotunn with Kinship. Okay, so coming in at number 9, released on the 27th of September via Ardua Records, I have Marche Funèbre with After the Storm, and this is melancholic melodic death doom metal. Now, this is basically like if Paradise Lost and Insomnium got together to create a super band, and this is exactly what you get, and those are two of my all-time favourite bands. I love that melancholic melodic death doom sound that's really creepy, really haunting, but incredibly harsh and brutal at the same time, with gorgeous flying riffs, devastating growls and screams, but then it turns into the doomier side of things, which is very melancholic, very gloomy and brooding. But one thing I can say about this record is it's incredibly addictive. This is like the epitome of an autumn record. It's very autumnal, it's very moody, and I absolutely loved everything to do with this. As well as the guttural screams and roars, you do have the clean vocals, which basically sounds like Paradise Lost, and that's what really drew me into this. And they balance each other so well. The contrast between the clean vocals and the guttural growls is stunning. But the thing that really stood out to me the most about this record is the guitar tone. It's very reminiscent of that 90s melancholic, mellow death doom kind of sound, which I gravitate towards all the time, and they have nailed that sound instantly on this record. It's beautiful. In a Haze is definitely my favourite track of the record, so like I said at the beginning, if you are a fan of the likes of Paradise Lost, Insomnium, November's Doom, this one is definitely for you. But coming in at number 9, I have Marche Funèbre with After the Storm. Okay, so coming in at number 8, released way back on the 19th of January, and at the time they were signed to Avant-Garde Music, but I believe they're independent now. I have Sgàile with Traverse the Bealach, and this is atmospheric progressive post-black metal. Now this is a solo project, and I always say on this channel I have the most profound respect and admiration for these solo projects because the talent that comes out of them is unbelievable. And this one is obviously one of my favourites of the year because it's in my top 10 albums of 2024. Now, like I said, this is a solo project from Scotland, so of course I am going to be supporting my countrymen, but this is such an emotionally in-depth record that is so intricately layered and beautiful yet crushing to listen to at the same time. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Bealach is a winding one-track road in the Highlands of Scotland through the mountains, so if you're ever in the area, go and check it out because it's beautiful, treacherous but stunning, and if you're not in the area, go and visit it anyway. Highly recommend that. And the name of the band itself is Scots Gaelic, and it's roughly translated as shade or shadow, but I think it leans more towards the shade side of things. But this is an absolutely stunning record. Purely clean vocals, but they have a very unique tone. Very powerful and emotive. Rich melodies, it's bold and creative and charismatic, and like I said, it is very progressive, but it flows really well. Much like Iotunn, it does flow incredibly well despite the differing tempos and the different time signatures. But this is an absolutely stunning record and I cannot get enough of it. And the very first track on the record, which is Sam's To Shout Into the Void, is one of my favourite tracks of the year, never mind just off this record. It's one of the tracks that I gravitate towards constantly, especially if I'm looking for something to kind of uplift myself and give myself a little bit of motivation. Plus, the guy behind it, Tony, is one of the loveliest guys you will ever meet, so go and support this solo artist. Support any solo artist, any local artist, but this one is absolutely incredible. If you are a fan of the likes of Alcest, Devon Townsend or Catatonia, this one is definitely for you. And if you are interested in kind of like that moody Celtic post-black metal with a dusting of Scottish charm throughout it, definitely check this one out. But coming in at number 8, I have Sgàile with Traverse the Bealach. Okay, so coming in at number 7, and this should be to no one's surprise that it's in my list, released on the 23rd of February via Prosthetic Records, I have Hand of Kalliach with Corryvreckan. This is Celtic melodic death metal. Again from Scotland, this is a husband and wife duo, and can I just say that John and Sophie are the kindest people in the world ever. But this record is incredible. I fell in love with this band during the release of their last record, which was Samhain. Definitely check that out if you haven't already. And their whole concept is surrounding the god Hag Witch of Winter, which is a very ancient Scottish and Celtic mythological creature. And all of their tracks are surrounding the story, or at least connected to the story of the Kalliach. And the thing that I really like the most about this record is it's very water-based, so a lot of the stories, a lot of the myths and legends that are in the music talk about water-based situations, and that's the kind of vibe that you get from this. It feels very mystical, very cold, incredibly enticing but dangerous at the same time, but there's also a magical mystery behind it as well. Musically, it is so addictive, crushingly devastating, really catchy hooks, and the guttural vocals combined with Sophie's very floating, dreamlike, ethereal vocals are stunning. This is darkly atmospheric, rich in melodies, but the guitars are going to completely annihilate you. Really catchy hooks, and there's this very ominous presence about it as well. My favourite track of this record is definitely Kieran Crowan, and this is a Scots Gaelic nursery rhyme, and in this song, the nursery rhyme is actually sung completely in Scots Gaelic, which is just absolutely magical and beautiful, and it's about this massive leviathan dinosaur sea creature that eats 7 killer whales in one go. It's that massive. Very cool concept for a track. But if you are a fan of the likes of Sur or Born of Ash that I recommended a couple of videos ago, or Anima Hereticae, this one is definitely for you. But again, as no surprise to anybody, coming in at number 7, I have Hand of Kalliach with Corryvreckan. Okay, so coming in at number 6, released on the 22nd of March via Wolves of Hades, I have Dödsrit with Nocturnal Will, and this is melodic black metal at its absolute finest. This record is so dark, it's so grim, and it has this very fantasy medieval vibe about it. Frantic energy and dark power behind this record. The tremolo picking and the blast beats in this record are unreal, and it has those very raw, dissonant black metal style screams and rasps, which are so atmospheric and evil sounding. But they also have a lot of melody and harmony behind them as well, which makes it a perfect balance, and it keeps your brain engaged. Intricate guitar riffs and tones that twist and turn and soar that really hook you in, full of emotion and power, but are going to completely annihilate you with heaviness at the same time. Lots of really cool folk and fantasy elements throughout this as well, especially the acoustic guitar that plays throughout this record. It has a very medieval kind of feel to it, which just adds to that very dense atmosphere. Now, this is a very guitar-driven record, and it is very much the guitars, both the black metal guitars and the acoustic guitars, that really creates that atmosphere. So you can expect a lot of intricate riffs, flying solos, and like I said before, intense tremolo picking. This is a stunning record. As Death Comes Reaping is my favourite track of the record, which is a monster of a track at 10 minutes long. So if you are a fan of the likes of Spectral Wound, Wolves in the Throne Room or Agalloch, you're definitely going to want to get onto this. But coming in at number 6, I have Dödsrit with Nocturnal Will. Now we're at the halfway point. I'm counting my top 5 albums of 2024, and can I just say that this top 10 list is the epitome of my music taste through and through. All of that pomp and pageantry, the mythology, the drama, the theatrics, and the crushing guitars. That is what I live for. Okay, so coming in at number 5, marking the halfway point for my top 10 albums of 2024, released on the 13th of March via Northern Silence Productions, I have Bloody Valkyria with Kingdom in Fire, and this is atmospheric melodic black metal. Now, not only is this another solo project, and again, I love these solo projects, it's a debut album, and as soon as I heard it, it skyrocketed straight up into my top 10 albums, my top 5 albums of 2024, and that's a debut album and a solo project. Absolutely unreal stuff. Now, I'm not going to lie, this record is an absolute beast, but it's a beautiful beast. There's 6 tracks on this album altogether, 3 of which are at least 12 minutes long, but each of these mammoth tracks are separated by a smaller track which is purely instrumental at between 3 to 4 minutes long. And it's the instrumental side of things that really generates this dense atmosphere. Now, this is a Tolkien-based melodic black metal record, so there is a lot of fantasy themes, there's a lot of folk themes, and of course Tolkien themes, and it's just absolutely stunning. And the way the album has been structured is it's like each of the tracks is a chapter from Tolkien's world, and it just fully immerses you in this fantasy adventure, but with really cool black metal elements at the same time. My favourite track of this record is Burning Citadel, and if you are a fan of the likes of Moonlight Sorcery, Sur or Belore, you're definitely going to want to get onto this. But coming in at number 5, marking the halfway point for my top 10 albums of 2024, and it's a debut solo project, I have Bloody Valkyria with Kingdom in Fire. Okay, so coming in at number 4, released way back on the 23rd of February via Century Media Records, I have Borknagar with Fall, and this is progressive, atmospheric, melodic death metal. I love this record. I love all of the records that I recommend to you guys, but this one in particular has a special place in my heart, and as soon as I heard it way back in February, it stayed in my top 10 albums of 2024, and it has not budged from that place. This is an emotionally outstanding record which takes on themes of mythology, nature, the cosmos and folklore, and it has that very magical Nordic edge to it. Incredibly melodic, lots of folk elements, but it has that progressive edge to it as well as the black metal side of things. Now, the vocal style alternates throughout this record, so you have your very venomous, rasping black metal screams, but you've also got these very emotively impassioned, clean soaring vocals that are just so velvety and they strike you straight in the soul. This is an incredibly catchy and progressive record, and it has some gorgeous melodies and harmonies in this, but don't get me wrong, it's incredibly heavy and harsh at the same time. There's a lot of ancient Nordic themes behind this. There's something very magical and mystical, but it's going to completely annihilate you at the same time. My favourite track of this record is definitely Nordic Anthem, and that is one of my favourite tracks of the year. So if you are a fan of the likes of Moonsorrow, Enslaved or In Vain, you're definitely going to want to catch on to this. I absolutely love everything to do with this record, down from the album artwork to the very last second of the very last song. But coming in at number 4, I have Borknagar with Fall. Okay, top 3 now. I'm getting a little bit nervous. I can't believe we're finally at the end of this. This is absolutely insane. There has been so many great releases this year, and there's probably so many that I've not even checked out yet. But coming in at number 3, released on the 5th of April via Northern Silence Productions, I have Belore with Eastern Tales, and this is epic, atmospheric, melodic black metal. Heroic, medieval, fantasy-themed melodic black metal again, but this one has a particular tone of magic that really grabbed my attention, and I cannot stop listening to this record. I listen to this record almost daily. I'm so addicted to it. Very dissonant, harsh black metal screams once again, which are prominent throughout the entire record, but you also have these very haunting, powerful spoken word moments, as well as choir-like chants and vocalizations, which just makes this very gritty yet haunting atmosphere about the record. But not only that, you've got whistles, you've got flutes, and the way that they've been crafted into the melodic black metal just creates this beautiful effect throughout the entire record. Now, when you take a combination of relentless blast beats alongside fantasy themes, medieval themes, and folk themes with beautifully dense melodic guitars and really powerful vocals, that is going to grab my attention each and every time. Hook, line and sinker, the minute I listened to this, I was all over this record. And once again, this is a solo project. Solo projects everywhere, keep them coming, I absolutely adore them. Storm of an Ancient Age is definitely my favourite track of this record. And if you are a fan of the likes of Kaladin Brood, Eldamar or Moonsorrow, you're definitely going to want to get onto this one. But coming in at number 3, I have Belore with Eastern Tales. Okay, so coming in at number 2, and before I announce it, I have to say that this was my album of the year for a good solid 6 months until my actual album of the year was released, and it just flew straight to the top of the list. But released way back on the 2nd of February, this is a self-released independent solo artist again, and that's Dwarrowdelf with The Fallen Leaves, and this is atmospheric, epic, melodic black metal. Again, Tolkien-inspired solo project, melodic death metal, synths, fantasy themes, grandiose, captivating, and completely devastating at the same time. All over this, and like I said, the way that this was put together made it my top album of the year for a solid 6 months until number 1 came along. Chugging riffs, flying solos, rapid drums that just seem to go on forever, gorgeous vocalizations, really rough guttural vocals, the occasional clean vocal, a lot of fantasy themes, medieval themes. Honestly, when I listen to this record, I feel like I'm in Tolkien's world, or Skyrim, or Elden Ring, something like that. I'm going off on a mad adventure full of swords, magic, wizardry, battles, orcs, goblins, elves, you name it, I'm there, and that is exactly the image that you get from this record. But despite that tone of fantasy, adventure, and uplifting kind of elements, there's also a brooding darkness behind this record. There's something very dark and evil and ominous behind this, which balances things out really, really well. This is a fully immersive record, incredible talent coming out of here, and the artist behind this project is the one that's behind Wraithfire that I recommended in my last video as well. So Tom Odell has so many projects on the go at the moment. A little bit unfair that he's appeared in my top 20 list twice, I suppose, but that's just how amazing his projects are. So if you did like the Wraithfire record that I recommended in my last video, definitely check this one out. To Dust We All Return is definitely my favourite track of this record, and if you enjoy bands such as Summoning, Kaladin Brood or Belore, like I just recommended on the record before this one is definitely for you. But coming in at number 2 and this year's runner-up, I have Dwarrowdelf with The Fallen Leaves. Coming in at number 1, I don't think I'm ready for this. I don't know if you guys are ready for this, but I feel like this moment has been coming for ages, but at the same time it's come round so quickly. It's both unfair and incredibly fun at the same time. And I've had so many messages from people telling me that they have no idea what my number 1 album of the year is going to be, especially because I announced the likes of Gatecreeper, Blood Incantation, Rotting Christ especially so early in my list. I've completely stumped people by the looks of things, and to be honest with you, I honestly thought that my top 10 albums of the year were going to be pretty predictable, so you guys can let me know in the comments if you think I was quite predictable or if there's been a few surprises. But coming in at number 1, my all-time favourite album of 2024, the number 1 spot, released on the 13th of September via Candlelight Records, I have Winterfylleth with the Imperious Horizon, and this is atmospheric black metal at its absolute finest. Now, like I said, Dwarrowdelf had been my number 1 album of the year for a solid 6 months since February. But when this one came out, when the Imperious Horizon was released, game, set, match. Game over, completely annihilated me. And every single one of the albums that I've listed in my top 10 of the year have made me feel something quite scary. I've had a lot of really big scary emotions listening to every single one of these albums, but this one in particular, oh my god, I don't have words to describe how I felt when I was listening to this. The first time I heard it, I was in my kitchen making myself a cup of coffee, and I sat on the kitchen floor and I did not move until I listened to the whole album all the way through. Had to make myself a fresh cup of coffee because it had gone cold by that point. But this record is incredible. It is so harsh, it's so brutal, incredibly frosty and bleak and mesmerising all at the same time. But despite the fact it's incredibly heavy with lots of really cool riffs, tremolo picks, stunning drums. The drums in this are absolutely insane. There's a beautiful melodic element behind this as well. So you can expect a lot of theatrics, but it's on the heavier side of things. And again, this is a very guitar-driven record, and it's solely the guitars that create that atmosphere. Plus the bass lines in this are really cool too. But Winterfylleth's The Imperious Horizon, that did things to me that no record has ever done before, and you can take that however way you want to take it, but I love this record. I listen to it daily, sometimes more than once. There's just this frosty atmosphere. It's very bleak, foreboding and muscular, but there's a really icy beauty behind it as well. Primarily guttural vocals throughout, but on occasion you do get the clean vocals, and they are so powerful. They're very raw and harsh, but very soaring and powerful at the same time. I cannot for the life of me choose one song of this record that I love the most. I love every single track of this record in equal measure. So if you are a fan of the likes of Wadden's Throne or Wolves in the Throne Room, Fen, Sur, that kind of icy, bleak, cold, incredibly rapid and in-your-face, devastating melodic black metal with a lot of really cool guitar elements and atmosphere, this one is definitely for you. But coming in the number 1 spot, released way back on the 13th of September, I have Winterfylleth with the Imperious Horizon. And that's it for not only my top 40 albums of 2024, but that is me for the year. I'm going to be taking 2 weeks off now to spend the festive period with my family and have a little bit of a break. But let me know what you think of my top 10 albums of 2024. And let me know what you think of my pick of the year too. And if you have your own section of the list, and if you want to share your own album of the year, drop it in the comments section below and I will definitely check that out. I will be back on Monday the 6th of January 2025. I can't believe how quickly that's come round, with my first video of the year, which will be my Bandits of 2024, which is basically all of the albums that I've discovered after I have released my top 40 albums of 2024. And then the following Monday after that, we will be back to our New Metal Mondays, just to start the whole process all over again. But I just want to say thank you so much for all of your support over the last year. I really appreciate all of you. I hope you all have a wonderful holiday period and a very happy new year, and I will see you next year. Take care.